Hey everyone, I'm Evan Lee, and today I'm going to be talking to you about digital literacy as an emerging curriculum and its applications in music. This is in partial fulfillment of requirements for the class EDU 658 summer session. What we'll be talking about today is what's involved in the curriculum as an emerging curriculum of digital literacy. Talking about what is it? What is digital literacy? Why is it considered emerging? Why is it considered important? What are some options for devices for students to engage in learning about digital literacy? And then also, how do I incorporate digital literacy into my particular curriculum, which is music? First of all, the definition of digital literacy by Lynch is the ability to find, evaluate, utilize, share, and create content using informational technologies and the internet. As far as what skills students need to learn involving digital literacy, the key skills particularly is one, how to search effectively. When they're looking for something on the internet, how to create an effective search to find exactly what they're looking for, and to know the difference between legitimate sources and sources that may not necessarily have the facts. They also need to know how to protect theirs and others' private information online, because as we all know when we're dealing with the internet, there are a lot of good people out there and a lot of good sites and a lot of good companies, but there are also some not so honest areas that they can find themselves in. And so we want to make sure that they understand how to protect themselves and how to take care of their private information. We also want to teach them how to give proper credit when using other people's work, rather than going to websites and copying and paste, or just throwing information from various places out there into a research project. How do you give proper credit when we're talking about using the information we find online within a research paper? What are digital footprints and how do they affect the user? Meaning trying to give them the information to understand that everywhere they go and whatever they do online, there's a trail, and there are people who will try to follow that trail, and we want to make sure that in all instances our students understand how to work on the internet safely. And then finally, how to respect each other's ideas and opinions, which these days can be a pretty major part of what we do in regards to digital literacy. How to have a conversation, how to have a discussion on a discussion board, or how to have a conversation via text or email, how to take other people's ideas and understand where they're coming from and respect where they're coming from, and in some cases just agreeing to disagree. Why is it considered emerging? Well, technology is becoming more integrated into our educational processes. Education is just becoming more digital. We use the internet for resources for research. We look up. There are areas of the internet that we can use that have wonderful resources for research. There are great examples of video and audio out there. There's some great informational sources that we can learn from by listening and watching. Particularly in the area of music, but in other areas as well. And then also just communications between teacher and student. More and more, the student and the teacher communicate via email or via text or through a common site like Canvas or whatever the particular school system you're using. Microsoft Teams, for example, in our OPS district is what we do a lot of our communication with students. The students are actually using technology more these days, and in fact, they're using it quite well. In fact, in a study in 2018, the International Computer and Information Literacy Study, they found that 8th grade students at that time scored higher than average in computer and information literacy. And this was a study that compared students across 13 countries. And we scored higher than average. We weren't at the top, but we scored higher than average. Students also with 2 or more computers at home perform better than their peers in computational thinking. So more computers in the home allows them better access and allows them to work more with the computers. And then 72% of students reported using the internet to do research, and 58% reported completing worksheets or exercises using information and communications technology. So they're having to use technology more in school. And then Lynch also found that that students who lack digital literacy skills may soon find themselves at just as much of a disadvantage as those who cannot read or write. And that's a pretty big statement. Why is it important? Why is it important? According to the Common Sense Census, which Common Sense has a website, commonsense.org, which has a wealth of information about digital literacy and digital citizenship, and it's got lesson plans and all sorts of great information for us to use and incorporate into our lessons and into our classroom. But according to the census that they put out in 2019, one of the top concerns of teachers regarding technology is students lack the skills to critically evaluate online information, which means that maybe they know how to queue up their best game or how to hop on Snapchat or whatever. But as far as finding good, solid, and accurate information, they have trouble finding that sometimes. They also found that most K-12 teachers use a variety of digital tool types with their students. Most of those digital tool types, with the exception of social media, were rated as effective for engaging students in learning. So the tools that teachers are using, the apps that they're using, the methods, websites, seem to be effective when engaging students in learning. On average, 8 to 12-year-olds use 4 hours and 44 minutes of screen time a day, and teens use an average of 7 hours and 22 minutes of screen time a day. That's a lot of time on a screen. So knowing how to navigate and being literate with how to use the information, how to use technology is pretty important there. Another statistic in this study was by age 11, 53% of students have their own smartphone, and by age 12, 69% have smartphones. An interesting statistic that I thought might have gone the other way, but they found that tweens from higher income families use an average of 1 hour and 50 minutes less screen time than lower income households. I thought that would be the other way around, but that's an interesting find. And then young people are more than twice as likely as they were 4 years ago to say that they use computers for homework every day. So it's important that since there's that much use being required of students to use technology in the classroom, that they understand and know how to do it safely. What are some options for devices for students? Well, there's a lot of areas that they can use, but particularly cell phone. So their handheld smartphone, in a lot of cases, is their go-to main device. Some of them will have tablets. Whether that's an Android tablet or an iPad. They'll have tablets. as well. Some schools are issuing out tablets to their students in a one-to-one type of distribution. And in fact, our school right now is in the process of giving every student in the district, which is 54,000 students, an iPad with cell service, so that regardless of the background, regardless of their income, regardless of their demographic, they have a device that can reach the internet because of the importance of the online learning that we're currently working in. They can use a computer, and the computer can be a desktop computer, it can be a laptop computer, it can be a Macintosh, it can be a PC Windows machine. It can also be a Chromebook. There's a lot of schools that have been working with Chromebooks, which as far as developing infrastructure, that's something that just needs to be developed at the IT level and then distributed down to the students. Most students have gaming systems. And with these gaming systems these days, they're all interactive, and they can get online with those and talk to people across the world when they're playing. So it's important to have them understand that maybe the people they're talking to on the other end, although their avatar and their personal description might look like somebody their age, they might be talking to somebody who's not their age and might be stalking or being a predator. And then also smart televisions. Smart televisions these days connect directly to the internet as well, and it's important that if they are using smart television, that they know what it can do and what things it can access, and what information that those TVs can actually bring in about you. So, how do I incorporate it into my curriculum? How do I incorporate digital literacy? In my music class, band class, instrumental music, I use it in quite a few ways. In fact, I use technology on a daily basis with my students. I use it to record audio and video performances. So as we're learning, as we're in the learning process, we'll take recordings and listen to them to gauge where we're at and what we need to do to improve. We'll take video of our marching band performances so we can see movement and see what areas we need to clean up. We use it in quite a few different ways for performances. As an evaluative tool, I use Flipgrid, and there's other ways you can use it as well. There's other apps that you can use to do the same thing, but we use it to have students submit performances, playing tests, short evaluations, and we also allow peer review of those. So if a trumpet player, for example, plays an excerpt, the other trumpet players in the group can hear that and learn from it, and give each other some ideas for performance improvement, kind of like a studio setting. We have apps that help students track their movements during marching band, so they can actually see on their tablet or their phone where they're supposed to be on the field when they're doing marching band, and it will also show pathways of motion to get from one place to the next. We use apps for tuning our instruments and for setting tempo with metronomes, and that helps with getting the group into vertical alignment musically. And then we also use video performances of other groups to help them learn how to positively, professionally critique and evaluate and recognize exemplary performances, so they know what a great sounding group sounds like and looks like. If they don't understand what good means, then they'll never reach that point. So knowing what that target sound is important to what we do. In conclusion, digital literacy is becoming an integral part of our education process. As students progress through school, they need to progress with the technology offerings that we have available. and at the time of this recording, with the COVID-19 pandemic in full swing, it is absolutely more important than ever before, because we're doing so much more online with our students. And in order to succeed in life at this point, they're going to need these technical skills to successfully progress through school and into their respective careers. Here's my references that I used for this presentation. And I thank you for listening, and hope this presentation finds you all healthy and safe and in good spirits. Thank you.